This episode of America Plus, I am sitting with the CEO of Podhome, Barry. We talk about his health journey, what it's like running a company. We talk about raw dairy a little bit. We talk about gut health. It's a really good conversation. As always, America Plus is a value for value show. Like, subscribe, and support me in a modern podcast app.
So I think the last time we did a podcast, dude, that was like a couple years ago, and your company was like a few weeks old, wasn't it? Like,
Yeah.
what a crazy time to do a podcast, right when you launch. Um, what's it been like? Like, catch me up on like the last like couple years. Like, what has been going on with Podhome? Like, what's going on now?
So when we launched, so Podhome is a podcast hosting platform. When we launched, we were pretty feature complete. So we kind of had a rich, you could host your podcast already, multiple shows, um, upload your episode. There was already Podhome AI that did lots of stuff. So that creates chapters and transcripts. So we had most of the things already, which is good. And then got some customers. It was slow in the beginning, definitely. Then it picked up a little bit. It's still relatively slow, but it depends, what is slow. So now we have a couple of hundred users that have many, many podcasts on there because most people have 2 or more podcasts that they host. And there are people with crazy big podcasts, as in big, as in episode wise, like 1,000+ episodes or something. Just very impressive. So we have lots of podcasts now that we host, which I'm very proud of. I'm now working with 2 freelancers that do customer support, some bug fixes, sometimes some feature building as well. I also do customer support here and there as well. But that also helps with time zone wise because most customers are now in the US and some also here and in Belgium, Germany, you name it. Saw a Japanese fella signing up a couple days ago. I still get all those emails for the important things, right? Somebody signs up. Also, when somebody leaves, I want to know that as well because that does happen. People sometimes leave for even Spotify for podcasters because, that's free and money is tight. I definitely see that with people. But yeah, so we're growing still slowly but steadily. And, over time, we built in more features like dynamic audio and text. For instance, live podcasting, we didn't have that in the beginning. We have that now. What else didn't we have back then? I don't know. Lots of that type of stuff. Now we also have an API, we have Zapier integration. And most of the things we built, like almost 90%, are things that people ask for directly. Like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if you guys did this? Or I would like it if, I don't know, this did that. We're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Sure, makes sense for other customers as well. Then we're going to build it. And I think that's kind of the best way to, evolve a product from a user's perspective. And that just works well. And the hardest thing, at least what I find, is marketing and advertising. That is super, super difficult. You've been helping with that, with videos,
Yes, sir.
creating videos for on the website and for on the socials and stuff. And that works. And also appearing on other people's podcasts also works because obviously that is also our target audience. But yeah, it's been only 2 years. That's kind of weird. It feels way longer because now we also have a podcast app. So we have the whole ecosystem. So hosting and an app. And we host some pretty decent podcasts, at least I find.
Yes,
America
sir.
Plus, of course. That's pretty cool. But also, for instance, Citadel Dispatch from Model,
That's a huge
which is
podcast.
also very cool. That's huge. Yeah, we have huge ones. We have similar Bitcoin podcasts also in Germany, for instance. There's some guys there. What are they called? Node Signal. Yeah, I'm not going to mention much more because then I'm going to forget people. But also, for instance, Abel
Yeah.
James, which is like a health and wellness guru. I bought a book of his, I don't know, decades ago. Was one of the first books about health that I bought. I was like, oh, this dude's so cool. And he was talking to all the OGs like Mark Sisson
Nice.
and all those type of people. And then we got into contact about podcasting 2.0 because he got into that through his music, because he's also a musician, and he did the V4V musician thing. And then he was like, you know what, can I not just host with you guys? Because he was on Libsyn, very old school, not a modern platform at all. And so we helped him transition. And sometimes that's a lot of work because, for instance, with Abel, he had lots of integrations on his website. Like for every episode, he had a page, and then he had a custom episode player from Libsyn and some other stuff. So, we helped him out with some custom work there, where we just, went into his website and actually changed all the stuff to our stuff, just to make it a bit easier on him. And that's nice. And I like that because, I feel my mission, my personal mission, is to create stuff that enables people to do better in the world. Now, that sounds very, very generic, but so I used to also create, and sometimes I still do, online courses about all sorts of things, technology, for instance, programming, stuff like that, but also health related. Um, and that helps. That's just stuff that's out there. People can go there, they can learn stuff from it, and then they can do stuff in the world with that. Like, I don't know, become a software engineer, improve their health or something. The same goes for podcasting. Now, this is not stuff that I create per se, but I enable creators like you and Abel, for instance, to spread the word, and then people listen to it, and that scales as well. Because if I see, sometimes I look at the analytics database, man, that's a lot of people that download stuff. That's crazy. That's just insane. That's millions of people that listen to something through our platform. It's incredible. So I'm never gonna close it down.
Wow.
Ever. We
Cool.
need a plan for that,
Thank
of
you.
course. That's something
Mhm.
that it is on the list, a succession plan. But yeah, I like this.
It's the AI version of you.
Maybe just some agent that's doing all the stuff, keeping the servers running. Yeah.
The
Well,
Perry
who knows,
agent.
in a couple of years, that stuff is just crazy how fast it evolves. But yeah, it's been a good ride
That's
so far, and it's only been 2 years, so
so far.
we can only go up from here.
That's incredible, dude. That's incredible. I want to stick on podcasting for a second, and then we'll go into health because I feel like you have an interesting perspective on that. There's another company that I've been following in the podcasting world called Fountain, and I was just curious what you think about Fountain going into like hosting podcasts, and Fountain's like super heavy, specific on Bitcoin, and so their whole thing is getting people connected with Bitcoin, on-ramping people with the wallets inside of the app, and now they have a new hosting platform where you can track your download analytics, but also you can easily see like your Bitcoin analytics, who's sending you how many small bits of Bitcoin, and it's just a whole it's like one of the first like real like analytics platforms to see like how people are engaging with your content with this different money. I was just curious what you think about that, and like I know that because of your country, you might not be able to go into Bitcoin stuff as heavy as other places, but still, like, what do you think about that? And like, how do you think about Bitcoin in this new?
Oh, I think what the Fountain guys are doing is very, very cool. So, they started out as just an app, a very successful app, by the way, with a focus on V4V, so Bitcoins and people sending sats to creators and making that super easy for people to do, which is a very difficult thing to do. But they did that, and then Nostr integration as well. And I like that a lot because they focus on a specific audience, a specific use case. So they don't try to be the everything app, which you also sometimes see, also with podcasts app, like what's your audience? Well, everyone and everything, books, music, whatever. We do all the things. I don't think that works for products because people want to have something specific as well. And also when you market it, you need a specific audience to do that. And so they've done that super successfully, captured a good audience with the player, and now, of course, into the hosting, which I think is a very good move, because having a podcast player is difficult to make a lot of money on, or enough money on. I'm not saying you need a lot of money, but enough money to run your company on. That's difficult to player, because I think their previous revenue model was, when people send sets, they take a little piece of it, like 1 or 2% or something, and then maybe have a premium version, and that is kind of an opt-in where people pay monthly couple of euros, dollars, pounds, whatever, and that's not gonna be a lot of people. So this is a good thing. Yeah, I think the target audience for people that do V for V, so value for value, with Bitcoin is relatively small. We're talking about tens of thousands of people, uh, of podcasters as well, which kind of a lot of people. If they were all be customers, that's great. We have a super, super useful platform there. Um, it is very difficult to get listeners to actually use value for value. Not a lot of people do. In our little bubble where we are, we see that a lot, of course. And, if we look on Nostr, it looks like everybody's doing that all day long. But I think if you zoom out a little bit, it's still a tiny amount of people. But still, it is growing. And I like that, because that's actually people that are using Bitcoin as a payment method. And I like that a lot, because, fiat is just not a good money. It just doesn't work well.
Yeah.
And so if we can use Bitcoin, definitely. So I like the Fountain thing. They are not really a direct competitor of mine. For some shows they are. So for some people they are, but they are way more expensive, first of all. And they have a very different use case. So if you are very, very heavy into the V for V, and like you said, you want that deep integration where you can see what happens on the Fountain app versus your hosting, and then who paid what with what messages, because that is their competitive edge, where they have that coupling between the Fountain app and the Fountain hosting. Hey, you should go there. Absolutely, that works well. So super specific use case, and also way more expensive, because we do $15.99 unlimited shows, and they do €25 dollars, I think, for one show. But if you're doing the V for V, it might be worth it. Absolutely. But
Right. Yeah, and then I mean, what would you say Podhome focuses on? Like, if Fountain is focused on the Bitcoin audience, what's the audience for Podhome?
on modern podcasting. So
Right.
Podhome focuses on the everyday podcaster, basically, that wants an easy way to create great metadata. So Podhome AI does that. You just stick your episode in there, and then boom, you get a transcript, chapters, vital suggestions, all that type of stuff. So it takes away time, and that automatically then populates your feed with all the modern tags and stuff. And as a normie, you might not care about that, but that does mean that in most of the podcast apps, your podcast is going to look great. People have chapters, they can click on it, they have transcripts, all that type of stuff. So that's an easy way. And nowadays, another kind of audience target is people that want an affordable professional hosting platform, because we're now kind of one of the cheapest ones out there. Everybody had to raise their prices. We hadn't, which is good. Obviously, we're always fighting Spotify for podcasters, which is free, but then you also get nothing for that. You just get a free hosting platform. You don't get a website or anything, let alone support. You can try their support, but it is best efforts, of course, because it is free. So
Yeah, I'm not on Spotify. I've never been on Spotify. Even when I try to go on Spotify, I am I never get the freaking confirmation link. Like, for some reason, Spotify just sucks. They can't even send me the confirmation code for me to type in. It's like, okay, I have tried it 5 different
yeah.
times. So Spotify sucks. I don't like them at all. That's very interesting because I feel like I have I found myself like getting less interested in Bitcoin as like a topic. Like I use Bitcoin, I like Bitcoin. It's like Bitcoin is just like air. Like, like Bitcoin like is just it's available. I like it. But I'm not like obsessed with it as I might have been a few years ago. And so like I really just want to focus on just like, just stacking my sats and, just focus on my own little wallet. I don't really care about like the wider ecosystem. Like I don't care about convincing people to go to Nostra or convincing people to send me satoshis for my podcast. It's like that's not the most important thing in the world, because there's like all these competing narratives. There's this big narrative that the American president Trump, they're moving forward with Bitcoin as digital gold. And then you have, sort of the purists, you got Fountain and me and Jack Dorsey and Adam Curry saying Bitcoin is a digital electronic cash system, and use Bitcoin as a currency, and that makes the most sense to me. So it's like these two competing things, and like and the areas that are using Bitcoin as a money, it is just very small. Like it's still very niche. And so I've been sort of just focusing on, just building on my own wallet and things like that. Um, what do you think about that? Like, has your relationship with Bitcoin like evolved throughout the years? Like, have you thought about
Absolutely.
it differently?
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
not that long ago, Bitcoin was kind of on loose sand where, it was being attacked left and right. Uh, was it a security? Wasn't it a security? People were being threatened, debanked. It was just painted as a shady thing that you should stay away from. Now, I knew better for a long time already, but that did mean that I wasn't sure about Bitcoin's future, because although Bitcoin is Bitcoin and it is all decentralized and all that type of stuff, here in the Netherlands we notice this very much so. If the government controls all the on and off ramps, not much you can do. If there's no way to buy Bitcoin or almost no way, for instance, it's going to be difficult. Or even if you have a bunch of Bitcoin and you cannot sell it in your country, if you need to, it's going to be very difficult. But now the tide kind of has turned, at least in the US, and is forcing the rest of the world, at least Europe, to kind of also take another look. So I have way more trust and confidence in it. So yeah, like you, maybe I was following the news around Bitcoin, what was happening, all this type of stuff. I'm a lot less interested now. I sometimes listen to This Week in Bitcoin with Chris Fisher. He does the macro overview, like what's going on with the Fed, how fast is money being printed, basically kind of a teaser of,
And they're printing more
of
just
course,
now,
I love
like
that
wasn't
stuff.
that announced?
Yeah, they're nuts. But that's good. Go for it. Go nuts. But yeah, I'm just also just, stacking my sets. I'm just making sure that I have some, because this stuff is rare. It is super rare. Every,
Mm,
every millionaire obviously wants one. That's impossible. It's not going to happen. So if you have one or a bit, that's good stuff. So everybody's going to want some. All the big banks, all the big boys. Now here in Europe, obviously, we're super scared of the Bitcoin because an escape hatch. We're also very scared of the stable coins that are coming, where America can export their inflation with, because we're
Yeah, we're pushing forward with that, dude. We're gonna outgrow the debt.
outgrow the debt. Yeah, it's awesome. But yes, probably. So here, for instance, we're gonna get the CBDC very soon. It's Nobody knows what it is, and nobody wants it, but the European Central Bank loves it, and it's their thing against the stable coins, so that But I think it's gonna work against them, because as nobody wants this, we might all install a little wallet with a stable coin thing and start using that. Probably all Europeans will also start using the dollar.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think we're at an interesting point in this story because people like people don't like the central bank digital currency. That's no good. But then you bring in the stablecoin situation, which is not like sort of centralized because companies are
Yeah.
making that, and it's like but it's not like controlled by the government, but then the government is about to be regulating it and have to be legal. But then there seems to be like an open marketplace for which stablecoin do you want to use. But then there's going to be like a legit one of like a like a stable coin that will be affiliated with the government. And there's like this thing in my head where it's like, okay, it's not good, but it's still really useful, and it might help a lot of people, and people might be into it. And maybe there's a chance that maybe some countries, hopefully America, is like good with it, and like we don't use it to harm people, even though that's like totally ridiculous, and people are getting debanked and people are losing their accounts, like the billionaires. And like, what was it? I was just listening to a podcast about, I was listening to a podcast with Donald Trump Jr. He has a company where he has a Bitcoin
Yeah.
mining company, and he was telling this story where yeah, I didn't know this until this podcast, but when they were setting up the Bitcoin mining company, they literally lost their bank account. And like it was really just for that reason, and of course, like, it was politics and because of his dad and everything, but like they were trying to move forward into the Bitcoin ecosystem, and because of the politics around that, they lost their bank account, and they only had like a few weeks to change the money around. And that's insane. You got other rich people, like Kanye West, famously a few years ago lost his bank account for just like saying things, and regardless of like what you might agree with, like what words are good and not good, people are getting debanked. So it's like Bitcoin is like objectively good to to fight against that. But then stable coins seem really useful, and there could be a chance that we outgrow the debt. Like, isn't that a positive thing to think about? Shouldn't we? Shouldn't we do that?
Well, to me, we're kind of getting to the end of the simulation here because things are getting so ridiculous, right? Where, I don't know, in 5 years, there will be like walking robots with sentient AI or something. The debt is unserviceable in most countries, which makes for all these crazy politics and all this crazy stuff, because that is kind of a result of that. So, I just focus on what I personally can do, which is save in something that is not fiat money. That's a good idea. Stay healthy, and make sure with my fiat money that I have multiple bank accounts on different platforms in case somebody decides to, he can't use this anymore for whatever reason.
Mm. Yeah, man, you gotta find some way to be decentralized, find some way to be self-sufficient.
Kinda.
And that goes into the health conversation,
Yeah.
that goes into your body, that goes into how you treat your body, what foods you eat, what foods you buy, like where you buy your food at. Like, what's been your health journey? Because America Plus, I'm trying to talk about more like health, more spirituality, more like philosophy type stuff. What's been your health journey? Because clearly, like, I feel like you're a healthy guy, and you just mentioned that you bought some health book with Abel
Okay.
James, and that was sort of like a part of your origin story. Like, talk about your health. Like, how do you think about your health? How do you approach your health? What's all that about?
So when I was young, I'm still relatively young, but when I was younger, I always had like bad guts, and I had like tummy aches, and it was just horrible. And the doctor said, it's IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. Go home. It's nothing you can do. Just chill out. I don't know. Basically, he says, I don't know. No idea. Sure. That's kind of what that is.
Thanks, Doc.
Anything that is a syndrome is kind of a collection of symptoms where they have not really an idea what it is. That's okay. They don't get that taught in medical school. But, I suffered quite a lot. And then in my teens, I found out that I was actually lactose intolerant. That was kind of, a root cause for all that suffering, because I used to, I live in the Netherlands, I drink milk, I eat cheese. That's not going to work. But I never saw the connection, the correlation between, hey, I'm doing this stuff and now it hurts. But also the doctor never asked, what are you eating, for instance? And then
Which is
that is nuts,
crazy.
because when I take my dog to the vets, that's the first thing they ask. what is he eating? Yeah. But, you know, we are humans, and so we're substandard and subpar to animals.
We're sub dog. We're beneath dogs.
And so later on, I also found out I'm gluten intolerant, which I'm convinced I made myself gluten intolerant because I was lactose intolerant, punishing my gut, which makes my gut permeable. So larger bits of food can go through it. As I am in the Netherlands, I eat lots of bread. And so bread particles go through it. And then my immune system sees that and thinks, hey, that's an enemy. Let me just make some antibodies for that. And so, you know, whenever I now ingest gluten, my body tries to attack that a little bit and I get a bit inflamed. So it's not like a deadly thing or something, not like celiac disease, but I do feel it. And so with these things finally uncovered, I got a chance to heal myself. And I went to kind of the equivalent of a functional doctor here in the Netherlands. And they, prescribed me a diet, gluten-free diet. And at that time, and that's a long time ago, that was like gluten-free bread, gluten-free cookies, gluten-free, I don't know, the rice stuff, do all that stuff. So all carbs.
And they have double the
Yeah,
ingredients.
so all still processed stuff and just crap. But, you know, no gluten, no dairy. So good for you. That didn't really work for me. But, you know, it was a start. And also by that time, I did not trust doctors at all because, you know, they never helped me with my issue. And they just, you know, sent me away with my issues. So I had to look for the answers myself. And I did that in books, in podcasts back in the day, Abel James podcast, for instance. And there were lots of others. Mark Hyman was around. Ben Greenfield was also around. Still around, those guys. Very good. They've been doing that for decades. Yeah, and then just went on a journey to just learn anything I can about the human body. Dive into any subject around functional health, nutrition, all that type of stuff. And now, after lots of experimentation and just trying stuff out, trying diets out and stuff, I'm now in a place where I do kind of I eat a lot of meat, but also some vegetables and some carbs and stuff. And that just works very well for me. I do some supplements here and there. I do high rocks nowadays, which is a weird type of sport where you do lots of running and it's a bit functional, wall ball, squats, that type of stuff as well. And that just works, you know, and I know I now have a huge toolbox of things that I can use when I feel, for instance, a cold coming up or I don't know, I've been drinking for a night. How do I fix it? You know, my kids are snotty, stuff like that. So I feel like I'm in a pretty good place now. Obviously, I can always improve, but you know, I'm never sick. I never have any gut issues anymore. I have steady energy throughout the day, and yeah, it's all good.
That's so interesting because I feel like I had a similar story because back in I think it was in 2017, the first Joe Rogan podcast that I ever listened to, he was talking to Mark Sisson. And Mark Sisson, he's always been very pushing like the primal blueprint, you know, talking about a little bit of ketogenic, but also just like, you know, just eating what your ancestors ate. And I was really into that idea. And I had this journey because I was like, right after, so I graduated high school in 2015 and then I gained weight. And then I was sort of just like, you know, just like not knowing what I'm about to do with my life and sort of like this like weird depressed state. And then I find Mark Sisson and then I get interested in ketogenic. And then I had this summer where I just got really inspired and just really I locked in. And a part of that is tied to a mushroom experience that I had in May 2017. And that like completely like, you know, that changed my perspective on my body. And I still like I saw this image. I saw this like vision of like a little like gardening ladle, gardening thing, and water was like pouring over, you know, like intestines and like my body,
Yeah.
you know, like inside of my body, and water was just like pouring over me, and I had this like this message of like water your body, feed your body, grow your body, And after that situation, I took what Mark Sisson had said. I went ketogenic. I went really hard, and I lost a ton of weight, and I was feeling great, and now it's been like, I guess, like, since COVID, it's been like ebbs and flows of just like seeing what's working with me, what's not working with me, because I'm also lactose intolerant. And that's also the same era that I like when I was graduating high school. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm not getting acne when I don't drink milk. This is crazy. And so I saw that correlation, and I stopped drinking milk, like cow's milk, and I went straight to almond milk. But I've also had like phases. I've had phases of things of what's working, what's not working. I had a phase where I actually moved away from almond milk because it was hurting me, and I discovered raw milk, unpasteurized cow's milk and goat's milk and stuff, and that's completely changed my life. And now like milk is like a part of my diet. I was curious, like, did you ever experiment with raw milk? Have you thought about that? Is that like a thing in your country? What is that
It
like?
is obviously illegal, because we're crazy. Uh,
It's illegal. Okay, I didn't know that. That's so
but you can get it at the farmer. You can just go to a farmer
okay.
and get it, and it's good. But I haven't tried it because I'm kind of in my head. I'm so traumatized. I know what happens to me when I drink milk. I get bloaty. I'm gonna sit on the toilet for the next day. It's gonna be bad.
Mhm.
So having an actual glass of milk, I don't care where it comes from. I'm not there yet. I'm not there.
Yeah, man.
No.
You should have seen me the first night, because the reason I even like found it is because I found this there's these random YouTube videos of these small interviews of these parents picking up raw milk um at their local farmer, and this one dad had this story of he had this baby girl, like, she's like 1 or 2 years old, and every time they gave her any sort of dairy, she had terrible stomach ache, and like it was just bad. And but then they experimented with raw dairy, and she had no issues. Her breath was normal, her diaper was normal, and like they literally just saw the difference. And I was like, what is going on with that? And so I looked up the laws in my country, in my state, in California. Luckily, I'm just lucky. I live on the west side of America, because the west side of America, it's like legal to buy in the store, but then like the east side, it's like more illegal. It's more common to be illegal. So I don't know what that's about, but um, I was able to buy. I bought a pint of raw milk. You can buy a pint over here, and I poured the glass, and I stared at the glass for like 10 minutes. I was as scared because I was traumatized as
Yeah.
well. Like I know what the feeling is. I know what that's about. And I was like, all right, here we go. It's either going to be 8 hours of discomfort or nothing.
Yeah, just go for it.
And yeah, I'm just gonna go for it. And then I drank it, and it was delicious. I was like, okay, this is good. It tastes like milk. And then I took another sip. And the interesting thing about lactose intolerance is like you sort of know instantly if you had it. And so I was like, all right, like after like the first gulp, I'm gonna know pretty fast. And so I gulped it, and then like I waited a minute, and my stomach was fine. I was like, okay, is this like a delayed bomb? Like, am I is this gonna be worse because it's not happening yet?
Yeah.
And then I just kept drinking it, and then nothing happened. An hour passed, and I was fine. I felt good. I felt better, honestly. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I think I just found a new milk. And then I went down the rabbit hole of all that. And then, like, this is sort of comical. So I bought the raw butter, which I don't anymore, purely based on the economics of things. Like, dude, the a pound of raw butter is so much money, dude. A gallon of milk is super expensive, but the you out here you got to pay $17 for a pound of raw
Wow.
butter, which is absolutely ridiculous. So I don't do that right now. But I bought some raw butter, and I bought some sourdough. I've never had an issue with with any sort of bread, but when I eat bread, I like to do like super low ingredients, like 4 to 5 ingredients in sourdough. I spread some raw butter on there, and I was like, let's see how this is. And as soon as the butter touched my tongue, I started to cry. Like water was coming out of my face. And I wasn't emotional, it was just pouring out of me. I was like, whoa, what is this? and I was like, this is delicious. And something about, I don't know what it was, because I had bread and butter before, but not like that. And something about the enzyme, something about the nutritious side of raw dairy, my body like just took that in, and there was like some sort of
Yeah,
release.
maybe it just
I don't know what
enabled
that,
you to release some trauma there.
possibly, possibly. So like, I mean, let me just encourage you to just like experiment. Just get one glass, make sure the wife's out of the house, make sure the kids are at school, and just do like a few gulps, and then you can figure it out, dude. Because it might change your life.
I'm gonna try
There's
that.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, all the information is about like, there's all the natural enzymes.
Yeah.
That's in raw milk, because when they pasteurize it, they're boiling away certain enzymes that help your body digest the milk. In particular, if you're lactose intolerant, that means that you're unable to digest the sugar in milk. Within raw milk, you have this enzyme called lactase. And lactase, if you were to go to the store, I'm sure they have it in your grocery stores, you're able to buy dairy-free, or not dairy-free, lactose-free milk, right? Like the brand Lactate or whatever brand they have out there. If you look at the ingredients on the lactose-free milk, the only thing that's different is that they're adding in a synthetic version of lactase. That's the only difference. And so, but in raw milk, lactase is naturally occurring.
Okay.
And so like that's like the biggest thing to think about. You got that natural enzyme that helps you break down the sugars all right there. And then I have friends who have stories of being lactose intolerant, and once they go into raw dairy, they actually heal their lactose intolerance. Now I have friends. Now I sort of can do the same things, but I'm not as heavy about it. I still want to do like as raw as possible, but I have friends where, because they ingested so much raw dairy, now if they had pasteurized anything, pasteurized cheese, even pasteurized milk, they don't have an issue anymore, because their body was able to develop all the necessary enzymes and bacteria in their gut to then take in whatever else that they're taking in. So it's a very interesting, it's a huge rabbit hole that I don't think people really talk about a lot, and like people haven't really explored all that much. There's a handful of people talking about raw dairy, but I think that's a real medicine.
Yeah, probably. All right, I'll give that a go. I'll let you know how that goes.
Well, good. Good. I'm happy I can force you to do it on air.
Well, that'll be fun.
Live toilet cam.
Toilet cam. Yeah.
That's cool though, man. What got you in? So like, what were your phases? Like, what were your phases of health? Like, what were a few different moments where sort of gave you like an unlock of like, oh, that's working, and like, oh, this other thing is helping me in this other area. What were those phases of health for you?
Oh, when I knew I was lactose intolerant, it forced me to look at all the labels always, because everything here in the Netherlands contains milk, even ham and certain breads and stuff. It's nuts. It's in everything. So that's good. So I have to just look at everything, which means everything needs to be a lot cleaner, basically. But I was still going to the supermarket and then picking the cleanest, highly processed stuff out there.
The cleanest shit
Yeah,
in town.
exactly. So I didn't know. And then I had a period where I also, based on Mark Sisson, I did what does he call it? The huge big salad or something. He has a word for it, or phrase for it. So huge salad in the afternoon with some fish and stuff in it. Uh, you know, I did that for a while, but that never satisfied me. It just wasn't. After that, I was just a bit bloated, upset, and still hungry. So it didn't work for me. And then I kind of got into the carnivore thing, where, I heard Paul Saladino, what's the other guy that does the rowing? Sean Baker.
Yeah.
I thought, really, so I was always with the cardiovascular disease, that's probably not good for you, right? Fats, all that saturated fat, that's probably bad for you. And before that, I was already, my functional doctor did like DNA tests on me. And apparently I have ApoE4/3, which means I am more prepositioned to Alzheimer's disease and also cardiovascular disease, because she said, I'm not very good at metabolizing saturated fat. And I thought, oh, geez, man, now I need to kind of, avoid all that stuff. So anything fatty, for a while, I avoided that stuff and I did low fat stuff. And that just made me just worse. I was always pretty thin, but then with like a protruded belly because it was just upset all the time. And then I just had no energy at all. But then again, back to the carnivore thing, I did try it because then I also fell into a rabbit hole through my own podcast, Improving Barry, where I got to interview Nina Teicholz and a couple other people that talked about saturated fat and how that is not a problem. It is the opposite, and why that is portrayed as a problem by the industry. And so I just went all in with the carnivore thing for a while, and that clicked for me. Boom, everything just clicked on. My body composition became a lot better. Like, I'm still lean, I'm still thin, but I now have a lot more muscle. I feel a lot better. My tummy is flat and not upset anymore. So I cut out all the vegetables there for a while, and it was great. It made me feel awesome. Just incredible. I had good poops for
Good.
which is,
That's like so
I
important. Like
never
people don't
had
talk
that.
about that
Yeah,
enough.
I
Like,
never had that
yeah.
before, but you're supposed to kind of poop every day and cleanly. If you do a good job and if it's going well for you, you almost don't need toilet paper. Almost. You still use it,
Almost.
But that never happened for me before. And now I thought, there's something to this. So I just kept that going for a while. And then, later on, I just started adding things back in, potatoes, other vegetables. I never, ever eat a salad, by the way, anymore. Just don't feel like it. I don't think it's going to kill me or anything, or it's going to be very bad for me, but I just don't feel like it. And now I'm way more resilient. So if I do eat something with gluten in it, which does happen, it's okay. I feel it because I'm now very, very sensitive. Like, I can feel when something is hurting me. But I know I can get rid of it in a day or two or something. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, if I keep that up for weeks, then it's gonna hurt me plenty and probably my gut's gonna be bad again. But no, so definitely the meat type of stuff, carnivore, that absolutely helped me a lot. That was a thing. And then I think a year ago, I started exercising seriously again. So I did that a lot when I was younger. I played tennis for 25 years. And after that, I did some marathons and stuff. And then for a whole while, like, my daughter is now 9. And I think since her birth or something, it just tapered off, busy, busy,
Yeah.
busy being a dad, and just, didn't feel like playing tennis anymore, the running. I didn't like it anyways. Uh, but now I found something, and that's the High Rocks, and that is a kind of a CrossFit thing, but with more running and less lifting, but still a lot of lifting, and that works for me. And so that, combined with now my lifestyle as well, with food, don't drink as much. I take, it just works. And another big thing that also helped me is functional mushrooms. So functional mushrooms. So think
Like
chaga.
lion's mane and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
absolutely. Lion's mane, chaga, shiitake, that type of stuff. I kind of cycle those. Like right now, I'm taking lion's mane twice a day. In I don't know, a couple of weeks, I'm going to stop that for a couple of weeks. Then I'm going to go for the chaga, and those are immunomodulators. So they don't ramp your immune system up or down. They just make sure it works pretty well, uh, like optimally. And they all have their different, like, superpowers. Like lion's mane also promotes nerve growth, also in your brain and everywhere, which is awesome. You can just feel yourself switching on after a while. Like, it's not like when I take lion's mane, immediately I'm like, oh yeah. No, it doesn't work like that. You should need to take it a couple of weeks. Chaga is like a master antioxidant. It's like super heavy. It's not a heavy impact or anything, but it also gets rid of heavy metals, stuff like that. So doing that occasionally is also a very, very good idea. And then shiitake is like, if I feel a cold coming up or something, I do shiitake, because that really does up-ramp the immune system. That's like a big gun. I do that only for maybe a couple weeks, and then, I kind of never get sick. Plus, all of these things are also, they do so many magical things, but they are also anti-cancerous. They thin the blood as well a little bit, which can be very helpful against blood clots and all that type of stuff. And they are also very good for your gut bacteria. So I feel it that they just make the gut more stable as well in general. So I kind of always take functional mushrooms, one of them. And then I take things like, magnesium I always take, vitamin K, 2 or 3, D3 as well, because, we don't have the sun here, doesn't exist. And then sometimes I take vitamin C and or like a multivitamin with B vitamins and that type of stuff in it. But I do that very occasionally. But,
Right.
kind of found what's working for me right now.
Mhm.
So that works.
Are you taking the mushrooms like? Is it like a powder or is it like a tincture? Like what?
It is a
What form
tincture.
are you taking it?
It's a tincture from Finland. It's called Kappa mushrooms, double A, KAAPA. And it's like super high quality tincture with, a little pipette. What's it called? I don't know. Little thing, a dropple, and then you just
Right.
ingest it.
Yeah, during COVID, when I was getting COVID money, I was going to the farmer's market all the time, and there was like this like mushroom guy, and they had like some lion's mane tincture for like $50, and I was like, yeah, let's do it, and I felt great. I felt really good on the lion's mane. I was like, mushrooms are legit. I haven't experimented with. I forget the name of the type, but there's like this one mushroom that tastes like chicken when you cook it, and so it's real. It's real. I forget the name, but it actually tastes like chicken when you cook it.
The turkey tail.
And maybe turkey tail. But I don't think it was that obvious. It was something like that. But it was actually really good. You just got to fry it a little bit. Not fry, but like, just put it on the pan, just cook it a little bit, just get it warm. And then if you actually just like, it tastes like a little chicken tender. Got some chicken tendies with me, dude.
Nice.
Um, So mushrooms are actually like they're really good. I feel like there's been within like the health sphere, there's phases of like what's good for you, and the entire health sphere is like pushing it, and then it's like they're going over to the next thing.
Yeah.
And it's like evolved into like now we're like fighting about is meat good or vegetables good? Is like people like there's so much infighting within like I don't want to say the community,
Yeah.
but just like the amount of information that's out there. There seems to be people who want to like control the information, because I follow Paul Saladino, I follow Mark Sisson, and those two guys are pretty aligned with their ideas. But then you got other people who are maybe they have a history in like traditional like education and they might be a doctor or they might be just like some researcher and they don't think raw dairy is good for you or they don't think eating meat all the time is good for you, and then they're bringing up all these studies. But then Saladino and Mark Sisson, they have like a lived experience and they both look good. And then like online, you get people like screenshotting some like Saladino Instagram reel, and they're like, "Look at his face. He looks terrible. He looks like a 50-year-old woman."
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my god. So now we're really judging people off cosmetics. Like I don't like. How are we supposed to judge the health? It's like people online like sort of like get caught up in the image of things. But the entire purpose of discussing health is about how you feel. What's your lived experience? There's even this other guy I follow. He's I would consider him like a Christian Jesus influencer sort of the thing. His name's Aaron Abke. And he pushes this thing that he interprets as the Jesus diet. And it's vegetarian, but I think he has eggs. But I don't think he does like raw dairy or anything, but he has all this information about why that's healthy for you, and he's shredded. So he's either lying and doing steroids or he's actually doing it. He's actually living his philosophy and, eating like a heavy vegetable diet, and it's like working for him. So it's like every body is different. I feel like people forget about that. So many people, like whether it be a centralized government or a person online, people want like a one-way street when it comes to money and health and like you need to eat this and this food is will kill you, so we're not gonna allow you to buy it. And it's like, well, like that's just not true. And people need I feel like there needs to be like an unlock of consciousness of people just thinking for themselves of like what is actually good because I see people get caught in between these things where they are living a life that's seeking health and they are experimenting, but then they're working off of centralized information. And it's like these two things are sort of fighting. And it seems very difficult. And so I'm happy that you found your health. I feel like people like you and people who are just like willing to experiment on their bodies are, you know, they're important for Earth because people need to figure that out.
Yeah, but I think most importantly, you need to stay curious and zoom out a little bit as well, because like you said, you can just get caught up in the details. Like I got into this rabbit hole of longevity for a while. Listen to people like David Sinclair, who has all these things, and you need to take what was it, NMN precursors, and
Dude, all the longevity people are so like I don't follow any of those people.
yeah, all that type of stuff. And then I think, who cares? I don't want to be 130. I don't care. I just want to.
Hmm.
So if you zoom out and you just see, oh, there's a dog.
Hi, doggy.
Okay, come so. Okay, go on.
Nice
So
home life.
yeah, it's lovely. Like a little dog.
Love it, dude. What's your dog's name?
Ruby. Ruby.
Ruby.
She turned 2 yesterday. It's very cool.
Nice.
Yeah,
Still a puppy.
yeah. What was I saying? So yeah, if you zoom out and this is very difficult, but if you can determine, what are my goals? Like grand goal for life. What is it? So for me, like that just was one of my kids. I want to be alive and fit for my kids so that I can just play with them now, but also in 10 years and 20 years, still pick them up maybe. I don't know, they're going to be super big, but I want to be fit. Um, and I don't need to become 130 years old. I don't care. If I can just have good days, most of my days are good, where I feel good, I have lots of energy, I can move around well, I don't have any injuries. And then I maybe drop dead of a heart attack or something at 70 or 75. You know what? Awesome. Let's do it. I'll sign up for that right now if I could. So I don't care about any NMN precursors or getting my daily resveratrol in or something so that at some day they can upload my brain to the cloud or something. I don't care about that. So,
Yeah.
if you just take that into perspective and then you can forget about all of that stuff where people say, you know what, yeah, the carnivore diet is great, but does it work when people do it for 20 years? Who cares? If it makes you feel good right now and, after a year or so, you don't have any obvious things going super wrong with you, keep doing it.
Mhm. Here's my real longevity, like health barometer. Like I feel like so I have a nephew, right? He's about to turn 6 or 7. I forget how old he's about to be, but my barometer is, am I healthy enough to just start playing with him? Yeah, like,
Yeah.
am I healthy enough to just like start running, just start swimming? Like, uncle, let's jump in the pool right now,
Just do it.
or like, yeah, just do it right now. You don't need to wait to warm up to play with the kid. I was just visiting him in Arizona a few weeks ago, and one of the things that he loves to do, and I love taking him there. There's this trampoline park. It's just this
Oh, yeah.
it's this indoor environment, just a bunch of trampolines everywhere, and you buy like a 2 hour block, and I'm literally jumping with a bunch of 6-year-olds for 2 hours straight. And they got like a little basketball. We got to dunk the basketball on the trampoline, and it's just 2 hours straight. And, I tried to go for as long as I could until I needed like a real break. And, I just realized this is real health. Like being able to just jump for 2 hours with this kid is like the real barometer because it's your muscles, it's your heart, it's your brain. Are you staying focused? Are you still playing? Because I feel like sometimes like if you're more tired, if you're more unhealthy, you're unwilling to play. Like you're unwilling to have an imagination with a kid. And that's when you might be like, no, I don't want to do it. I'm tired. No, let's not play that game. Let's not play Dragon. Let's not play that game.
Yeah.
But then like when you are healthy, it's like, why not? It's like, yeah, let's do this. And then like you're in the fantasy, you're in whatever world that they're in. And that's just I find myself feeling so much more free when I'm able to do that, when I'm able to just engage with that sort of thing. And I feel like all the longevity people, Brian Johnson, whoever they are,
That dude's crazy.
it's like they're just they're focused on something that might be noble, but it's also not necessary for the immediate, that you're not being present. It's like this like new form of anxiety. Like anxiety is when you're thinking about the past or you're worried about the future. Like they're worried about dying. They're worried about not living to a certain point. And it's like that's just anxiety. And like you gotta just be with your kid. You gotta just be here right now. Don't be afraid of the freaking sun. Like, are you kidding me? You live in California. If you live in California and you're avoiding the sun, you're stupid. Like that's so insane. Like I'm outside. I try to be outside all the time as much as possible. It's like the last thing I'm gonna do is like be afraid of nature.
Yeah. So they operate from fear, so fear based. And
Yes.
I I'm rewatching Game of Thrones, which is awesome.
Mhm.
And what did the guy say? He said, "Don't be afraid of your death. Be afraid of be more, worry about having a great life." I
Mhm.
thought that was awesome. That was profound.
That's a
Because
real philosophy.
that's all you can do, really, as well.
Mhm. And it
Oh,
echoes throughout all of time. I feel like every religion, every philosophy, that's a universal truth. Some
yeah,
people within the religious sphere, they don't want to talk about like universal truths, but there are. And
of
like if
course.
you're to I if you were to stay present, like that's that's perfect. That's a good life. That's a heavenly life. And like people, I'm not sure why that is. Maybe people get caught up. Maybe people just forget. Right now the movie that's coming to mind is Steven Spielberg movie Hook, where Robin
Yeah.
Williams is Peter Pan. Like he forgets he's Peter Pan. Like he forgets
Yeah.
he's free. Like that's like such a profound thing. There's been this thing online where some people are sort of like coming back to that film and like thinking about like, oh my god, like people didn't like it in the 90s, but it's actually a profound movie. Like not and there's like some psychology stuff about finding your inner child, but like whimsically, like the whimsical side of that movie is like, no, you forgot you were free. He forgot he was free. He forgot he was this like infinite being that could just do anything and have fun. And it's like that's so real. That's so real. And like, it's just I love that. I love seeing when that happens when like creative people can channel that truth and like that just like it's a universal truth that everyone can relate to, no matter who you are, color your skin, philosophy, religion, region, that's real. It's truth.
Yeah. And that, I also had like a bout of spirituality where I also did a mushroom session, which was profound, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, and I did a hypnosis session, which was also super interesting.
Wow.
Um, but now I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I think we are instantiations of the universe. We're doing like an experience here, like a VR experience. It's
Mhm.
awesome. We have pain, we have suffering, we have joy, all that type of stuff, which is great. And we have this yearning. Whoa, there's a cat.
I know. The cat likes to hang out on top of the fridge now. So
It's cool.
he just comes from the ceiling.
That was crazy. And you know what? But we all have this like God-shaped hole where we have this yearning to go back to all that stuff, to the all. where, everything feels nice and warm and unconditional love and all that stuff. But you know what? Like chasing the spirituality and trying to get there, because that's kind of what you're doing when you're doing that, kind of trying to get as close as you can to that universal base state. That's kind of not the point, I think, because why else would we be here in this VR experience? I kind of chose this, probably. So I shouldn't be chasing that. I'll go there anyways when I die, and that'll be soon enough. So I should just focus on this experience right here, because that's all there is right now, anyways. I can try to grasp at, it's kind of escapism to try.
Hmm.
And I get that. I also want to go there, absolutely. But I've stopped that now for a while and just try to focus on this
Yeah,
heavy Earth life.
I know. It's so heavy. It's so heavy. And,
That's all we
so here's a video game analogy, and I know you gotta leave soon, but here's a video game analogy. It's like if you're not being present and you're trying to just like find nirvana and you're ignoring life, you're sort of trying to disconnect from everything around you. It's almost like you're playing a video game and you're just like collecting resources and you're not using them.
Yeah.
It's like you're in the game, but you're not even playing the game. You're just like trying to collect what you think is valuable for like the update. Like you're just focused on getting as much resources because when the update happens, then this is going to be amazing for me. But then you're not even playing the game. It's like you're collecting Pokemon, but not doing any battles. You know, like it's like that's not like the point of Pokemon is to have the battles, and collect them all. You like it's very interesting, because then the Pokemon only evolve when they fight, you know? Like, when they have experience, when they have XP, that's when they evolve, and it's like, that's the same thing, that's a sort of like a similar parallel with humans. Like, you only upgrade when you go through stuff, when you choose to engage with what you're actually going through, and you're
And that is very difficult, of course,
Yes.
because, the world, everything is a distraction. It's super difficult. You have your phone with the little videos on it all day long. And there's the news, and there's other people, and there's your work, and there's a whole system that makes you do stuff all day so that you have money and stuff. So it's super difficult. I do get it. But all that stuff is also just part of the experience.
Yeah. Yeah. If you were to like write down something for your kids or your family, like, and maybe we can like wrap up with this. If you were to put on paper, like, what is a healthy life, or like, what is like, how can you approach health and spirituality? What would you write down on paper for someone to explore or think about?
It's a great question. Uh, I would say keep it simple. So for health, that is, do all the basics. So eat clean, real food that your grandparents can recognize as food. So anything with a label on it is a warning label, basically. Sleep, move, those basics. I think if you got those, you're, you know, 90% healthier than most people, probably. Spirituality, I would say, just stay curious. Stay curious about everything that you see around you, that people tell you, that you see on television or hear somewhere, might not be true. What is the case? Who knows what is true? But don't just take everything for what it is, uh, and also just try to play the game, because whatever is out there in the news with the people, all the people around you, doesn't really matter. It's a like a huge video game. So if you approach life from that aspect, kind of doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter when you die as well. Doesn't really matter. Might be fun. Who knows what you're doing when you die? Don't try to die, because this is the experience. You need to have this experience, but try to focus on this experience. Don't try to escape, or or focus on the outside world as well, like the news, the politics, all that type of stuff. Doesn't matter. It's just a show to enjoy. That's all. I guess that's kind of, it needs some work. Maybe I'll put it through ChatGPT or something.
ChatGPT, how do I live a spiritual life? That's funny, man. Well, dude, Barry, thank you so much for coming on here, man. I love this talk. I think you're, you know, we're both young. I will call you young, and I feel like we're both like young on our journey, but like, I feel like there's real wisdom. So just thank you for coming on. Thank you for sharing your mind and heart. And yeah, man, I'll see you in another 2 years, maybe sooner.
Maybe sooner. Yeah.